The Kona Electric has long provided an entry point for the EV lineup for Hyundai, and now it's back in second generation guise. It's bigger, got more features, better tech, and is apparently slicker to drive. So, does the reality live up to the hype? The new Kona Electric continues as an EV version of a car that's also available with petrol propulsion, along with the inevitable compromises that brings. It's available in 3 models, priced from $54,000 plus on-road costs. The basic Kona Electric, as it's called, is available with a standard range or extended range battery pack, the latter adding $4,000 to the price. Or you can opt for more equipment in the premium, which only comes with that bigger battery and sells for $68,000 plus on-roads. That full fruit model is the car we're testing today. As before, the Kona Electric gets a single motor driving the front wheels. And in both versions, standard range and extended range, it's exactly the same motor. But in the extended range one with that bigger battery, it actually makes more power. Now, speaking of power, this car, the second generation Kona Electric, makes less grunt than the one before it, which on the surface doesn't seem like a terrific sales pitch. In standard range, guys, it makes 99 kilowatts and 255 newton meters, which is 1 kilowatt and a whopping 140 newton meters less than before. The extended range models make the same 150 kilowatts as before, but torque has dropped to 255 newton meters, which is again 140 newton meters less than the old car. Hyundai says it's all about smooth acceleration and vehicle efficiency. We'll see. There's one area there have been improvements: charging. The new onboard charger allows for up to 10.4 kilowatts of AC electricity. Now that's up from 7.2 kilowatts in the old car. It won't make a difference if you're charging from a single-phase wall box or a home power point, but anything more powerful can lower the full charge time from about 9.5 hours in the old car to something like 7 hours in the new one. The Electric mostly shares its body with other petrol-powered Konas, but there are some key differences, starting with this front bumper, which has been redesigned obviously to house the charging port. Lower down, you get this sort of pixelated look, so again, that's unique to the EV, and that theme flows through to the rear end. And it's sort of a theme carried through with modern Hyundai electric vehicles, the Ioniq 5, for example. Now elsewhere, it's a stylish compact SUV. You cannot get the N-line pack, the sportier looking pack, on the electric version of the Kona, but it does have a pretty cool look otherwise. You've got this nice thin LED DRLs, or daytime running lights, and out here, what looks like sort of fog lights are actually the headlights. Inside, the whole modern aesthetic continues, and it starts with some of the materials. So yes, you've got lots of plastics, but they're a little bit more upmarket than your standard grey on grey. And you've also got some nice silver highlights that liven the overall look. The driver's seat, nice and snug, does the trick, and the driving position generally is pretty good. This one I'm in's got a head-up display, and again, perfectly positioned sort of on the edge of the bonnet there. You've also got some really good thought put to the storage. So the center console, for example, is quite low, and you've got this nice big open binnacle, so you can put bags, you can put cups, all sorts of odds and ends in there, and a shelf on the passenger side that's also pretty handy. Plus, you've got some nice deep door pockets. One thing we love in the Kona Electric is buttons. Instead of leaving everything to a touchscreen like so many manufacturers do, Hyundai has kept some buttons and dials, which makes activating features that much easier. A little bit of tradition and it works. There's no shortage of grey plastics, but they're at least put together well and create the impression of a well-built mainstream SUV. The rear seats fold in a 60/40 configuration, and in this premium one you also get relaxation front seats, which fold way back for added comfort when charging. At the same time, there's absolutely no shortage of tech. You've got dual 12.3-inch screens, and they sort of flow into each other and I guess form the basis of the entire dashboard pretty much. Plenty of tech within that, and it's also got over-the-air software functionality. So for the first time you can update, add new features depending on what Hyundai does in the back end. Now the screen itself, fairly easy to navigate. You've got a main home button, get back to that, and you've got a whole bunch of sort of tiles that delve you into other sub-menus. So you sort of need to know what's where, but once you get the hang of it, you go in there and there's plenty more to learn about. So fairly easy to operate. So of course the Kona is a compact SUV, but it's not super cramped back here. Okay, not limousine-like, but it's livable. It's also got a flat floor, or pretty much a flat floor, so you've got plenty of foot space across that back row. Things like rear air vents, handy. We've also got seat heaters in the back here, so plenty of tech and equipment flowing through to the rear. Plus a couple of USB-C power outlets down the bottom. That's on top of the 2 USB power outlets up front. We've also got a standard power port, so if you want to run anything AC, whether it's charging a laptop, maybe a small fridge, something like that, you can do it in this. Now the boot isn't huge, but it does get the same 407 litres of any other Kona, plus you get a 60-40 split fold, so you can expand it if you need to. And there's one unexpected bonus, that a spare wheel. Now granted, it's only a space saver, but that is a whole lot more than you get with any other electric SUV on the market. And there's another thing up front that's also pretty handy, which is a small storage container. Now, not exactly huge, but it's fine for maybe charging cables, a laptop, that sort of thing. From the second you get in the Kona Electric, there's quite a feeling of normality around it. It's obviously based on petrol-powered versions, so you get that sense that it's fairly normal, albeit with one decent change, which is how you select drive and reverse. So instead of a typical sort of bar or twist a knob or something, you've actually got this additional stalk, a big chunky stalk off the steering wheel. So that's the way you get going. Bit of a hum at low speeds to try and warn pedestrians that you're arriving, but once you're up to speed, you've got that electric silence. Now this car I'm in is the extended range, so it makes more power, 150 kilowatts versus 99 kilowatts for the standard range car. 150 kilowatts, that's identical to the previous model, but it does have a whole bunch less in the way of grunt or torque. So the previous car, 395 Newton meters. This one, 255 Newton meters, a full 140 Newton meters less. And you feel that when you press the throttle. So floor it, you've got that smoothness, that nice response that you get from an EV, but it doesn't have that full thrust, that full throw you back in the seat that the previous one had a little bit of at least, and it was certainly a bit of fun.
Certainly, if you're upgrading from the old model, you're going to notice less enthusiasm. It's just not quite as energetic. But if you're coming out of a petrol-powered SUV, then you'll probably be absolutely fine with it. There's a nice effortless surge and easy access to that generous torque. And with less step-off thrust, the Kona Electric is less likely to trigger the traction control as its front wheels fight for grip.
Now you can tweak the whole driving setup to your preferences. So you've got a bunch of drive modes, Eco for example, Normal, which is the most normal and probably the one I'll be using most often, Sport, which sharpens the throttle, gets you to that full 255 Newton meters a fraction quicker, and you've also got Snow, which is super doughy, and I don't know why you'd bother. I guess if you're on snow, maybe you'd do that. You've also got paddle shifters, but obviously they're not shifting, there's no gearbox to shift. Instead it adjusts the regen, so go from basically coasting to quite aggressive regeneration. As with the petrol powered versions of this car, the Kona Electric has a fairly mature sort of driving manner to it. It feels a bit more grown up than your average compact SUV. So there's a real solidity to it. It does feel nice on the road. The steering's got a fair bit of weight to it, but I find it's a little bit dead. It doesn't quite have that liveliness that some people might expect. So a little bit more of that would be nice, particularly when you're sort of carving through the corners.
The Kona Electric is also a comfortable machine. It soaks up bumps with more of a big SUV feel and has great body control. It's a comfy, easy to live with SUV. So the Kona Electric is a step up on the original. More space, more tech, more driving panache and more features. But it has gone backwards in outright performance. While that won't be missed in most people's everyday driving, there could be times when that additional thrust would be handy, or at least fun. Still, it's a keenly priced EV that makes a solid case for those considering an electric vehicle but wanting the normality of a regular car.
But it's up against some tough competition. You've got the BYD Atto 3, the Kia Niro Electric, and if you really stretch it, the Tesla Model Y. Now, of course, this is only our first taste test with this car. We're going to get behind the wheel, do a lot more with it, really test it out. So stay tuned to Car Sales for a lot more on the Kona Electric.